Well, I wanted to have a little bit of a debate with you.
Are we gonna do this like a rap battle?
Yeah, except for I'm terrible at rapping. I wanted to discuss which is better,
Yeah.
Android or iPhone, and I'm gonna be iPhone, and you're gonna
All
be
right.
Android. So
Sounds
go.
good.
How come Android's better? What do you think?
All right, drop a beat, Dan. Just kidding. I'm not good at rap battle. Maybe if I thought about this in advance, I could have put a nice little rap to it. So, Android. Why do I love Android? I've got to tell you, it's probably the customization of Android, the openness of Android, the ability to move files on and off, the all the things that come in Android phones. You want an Android phone that's cheap? Buy a cheap Android phone. You want an Android phone that has additional memory so that you can put tons of movies and photos and videos on it? You get an Android phone. You want a phone where you can make it beep at you and do all kinds of different things when you're looking upside down or left or right? Android will let you do that. So customization, the freedom to do what you want with it, and the ability to buy the phone that is right for you. In fact, let me give you a good example. So, mom said to me last night, and remember when you were on the phone with us, and she said, "I want to know what phone is best for me." So, for our listeners, our mother is in her late 60s, and she is not very into technology, and so she just wants a simple phone. Well, if she wants a simple phone that's not very expensive, it's going to be Android.
Oh, that's interesting that you said Android because I think an iPhone would be better for mom, and here's the reason why.
Drop it down. This is the
All
debate. Which
right.
phone is better for mom?
I think it's just been planned out way better. They had the top minds of their field figure out a design that looks great. It's going to fit well in her pocket. She's going to turn it on. She doesn't need to know how to configure anything. She just presses a button to turn it on and it just works. And it's beautiful. And that's what I think would really appeal to mom about that. Look, with my iPhone, I can easily share contacts and pictures with AirDrop. And I don't know about you, but I find most of the people that I hang around with have iPhones. And so after a hike or after, going to Disneyland, it's so much easier to just open our phones and share photos that way.
But it's not that easy to share with an Android person, is it?
That is correct. That is correct.
Whereas
So
Android
let's
can
hear your
share
rebuttal
with,
on that. How do you
yeah.
share the photos? Are you using Google or what are you doing?
Yeah, Google Photos is awesome. It works on Android and it works on iOS. And I love it. So here's another question. All right. So I will concede the fact that iOS is simpler to use. There's no question about it. But it's becoming more and more difficult to use, especially on the iPhone XS. So you get the iPhone 10s and that home button's gone. So now
Oh,
there's all the gestures and the flicks and it's got to be flicked just right and it's got to be gestured just right. So I feel like as iPhone is trying to compete with Android's functionality, they're trying to simplify by removing buttons. I think they've moved away from the simplicity that they were known for. And then here's the other problem is the price, right? To get something that's affordable for mom, something that if she's only going to use it as a cell phone and then, occasional web browsing and Netflix, you're going to be buying a really old iPhone. And the problem with those really old iPhones is they're not supported anymore. And what drove me crazy when I had an old iPhone is all of a sudden an app will stop working and it will say download the latest app. Oh, this latest app isn't available on your iPhone. And
ah.
one of my best apps just stopped working because it just wouldn't work on my old iPhone, even though it did for years.
Well, I do want to talk about the App Store. You may have a point there, but I personally think with iPhone, the App Store is so much more clean and secure because they have such a big vetting process and it's easy to find what you want. It's a well-designed App Store. And,
Yeah.
quite frankly, people use it more often and spend more money on it too. So if you're a developer, you're going to make more money making games for the Apple iPhone store.
Well, there's no
Some
question it's far more secure than Apple Play. And we've talked about that too. And, a bit of the functionality of an Android is that you can actually sideload apps from anywhere you want, but then that leaves you open to malware, and you've got to really trust the source of where you're getting your app from.
One thing that I really like about the iPhone space is iMessage. Really, there's just nothing that compares with it on the
Hmm.
Android side. When I had Android for 3 years recently, I tried everything. Google had a text messenger. Samsung has a text messenger. I downloaded some third-party ones that I thought would, work well. But it just was so disorganized and frustrating when people sent me group text sometimes from an iPhone. It just came really weird, and sometimes in multiple
Yep.
messages, broken up. One thing that I like about iMessage is when you send it to people, you can tell when they receive it. So there's never
Hmm.
a question about it. On my laptop, I can send iMessages too, which is very convenient to people's cell phone numbers, not to like an email address or some
Yep.
kind of a Gtalk account. It's actually to their phone number.
Google
Um,
Messenger now does that too, but it's an actual web page. I believe it's messages.google.com, and you have to log in with your Gmail account. But yeah, I totally hear you. iMessage is fantastic, and Android and iOS, as far as messaging, is working better now. But what I found is you need to have a newer Android phone. So I think it was more on the Android side, was they created something that was compatible with iMessage, not necessarily Apple saying let's work well with Android, because I don't think they would ever do that.
no. But I mean, the problem is it's not standard across the board. You open up an iPhone, it doesn't matter if it's an iPhone 5 or a 10s,
Yep.
you're using iMessage. And when you text somebody, you know whether they received it or not. When you group text people, it's obvious. It's just so much more organized. If you're on Android, it's totally different if you're on a Xiaomi phone than on a Samsung phone, than on a Google phone, Nexus phone. Everything is different text messengers,
Hmm.
and you can get lost in the messages.
That's
And
why I like the vanilla Android experience. In fact, on my Samsung S9 Plus, I actually use the Google Messages, not the Samsung Messenger app. And it may play well with iOS and iMessage as well, but I just like to keep the experience the same.
right. Okay, that's a good point. Um, I like iCloud as well. It backs up all of my messages. It backs up my photos. That's one thing I really like about the iPhone. Is there anything else you like about the Android before our battle royale is finished?
Um, iCloud, I have mixed thoughts on that one. Sharon uses an iPhone, and her iCloud, her phone is always full. And she's constantly removing photos and trying to upload photos to iCloud, and iCloud is syncing all these different apps, and you got to pay more to be able to use iCloud. I mean, she doesn't use a lot, and yet her phone is constantly telling her to delete things, and iCloud is full and pay more money. Whereas Android, especially with my photos and videos, everything's in Google Photos. So I've now set up Google Photos on her iPhone, and she no longer has those issues because it automatically syncs. And it really is a great app. In fact, I would argue that Google's apps are some of the best, and you can use them on iOS or you can use them on Android, but they're made specifically for Android. And if you use Google's apps, you know they're going to be great. Just look at Google Maps. Google Maps is way better and has constantly outperformed Maps on iOS.
Oh yeah.
And, it is fantastic.
I can't tell
So,
you how many times I've used Apple's map software and gone to like a weird warehouse. Is this where the party is? No.
no, but we're just burying the bodies out back.
Yeah, you got me there, Matt. I mean, Google Photos is the way to go. I always buy the smallest iPhone in size
Yep.
because I know that most people fill up their hard drive with photos. And for me, I delete all of my photos on my phone and just upload them the same day. And so I have tons of space on my phone all the time.
Yeah. So
And
why bother? Yeah.
the only thing that I don't love about Google Photos is my live pictures, which you can use with the Apple phone, where it kind of moves the Harry Potter style.
Oh, those are cool. I like those.
They're cool, but when you look them up on Google Photos, it's weird. It's like a video and there's sound, and it's just not very well integrated yet.
Oh,
But
there's
that could
sound
be
on
something
it.
that could be upgraded soon.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're divided here. I'm on Team Apple. Matt, you're on Team Android.
Team A, Android.